Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining. I am going to talk today a little bit about this current economic climate and what that means for the working world that we're in. So, depending on where you're at right now, you might be thinking about whether you stay in a job, whether you leave. If you may have already been made redundant, and we expect that with the economic climate as it is, we expect that there might be many more redundancies to come. So I'm hoping in the next 45 minutes to an hour or so to give you some hints and tips, maybe just a little bit of food for thought, things that you can do to help you on your own career journey. So just a little bit about me. So my name's Della Judd. I'm a career coach and author of the book, Get the Job You Really Want in a Post-Pandemic World. My background is all corporate. I used to be a director in Deloitte, and I've been doing executive coaching, career coaching for the last 4 years. And my mission is really about making sure that people are in jobs that they actually like, and maybe not even just like, that they love them. And all too often I see people who are struggling with stress and burnout, working far too many hours, really wanting different arrangements in work and not necessarily getting that mix or that ideal culture that they're looking for. So that's my aim. If you're watching, then do put a question in the chat and I'll try and come back to those later. So I'm going to start with the question that was kind of the title of this webinar, this live, is, what do I do now? Do I stay or do I go? And there are some stats out there. I'm just going to refer to some stats at the moment, that in a recent study, people who are in work, 81% right now say that they think they will stay in a job rather than look to leave, because of the security and the job security that they have. And although there's also lots of tales about people, and I was at a webinar today, a conference today, and a talk yesterday, lots of people looking to potentially jump ship for more money, because we need more money right now. But actually, you've got to really think about that in terms of, if you're jumping, say, for a 10 grand pay increase, you may also be giving up some of your employment rights. And certainly if you've been in a job for 2 years or more, you've really got to weigh up, if you're jumping ship for a bigger pay packet or some other benefit, you would then be losing those protected rights of after 2 years. So this is why it's no surprise to me that right now, with a bit of instability, 81% are saying that if they can stay in a job, they will stay in a job. And that's despite the other stat that goes with it, which was that 46% of people in work right now, which is, it's a huge number, they actually want to move. So 46% of people are saying they would like to move, but they're saying that they would stay. And of that 46% who want to move, 57% say that job security is the reason that they will stay where they are, which, if you're an employer, actually is a bit of a worrying thing, isn't it? Because you've got 46% of your workforce looking to move, and they're staying just for job security. They may not be staying because they love it, and they may not be staying because of the culture. So if you're one of the ones who's thinking about staying, it can be a bit of a daunting prospect, can't it? You think, maybe I'm looking to move on, but I'm not going to move right now because, I want this job security. And instead of that feeling like a really difficult decision, or kind of being, really disappointed that that's the way it's got to be and it's something that's happening to you, I think one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight was actually, what can you be doing in your current work that actually could still help you to develop for the future? So you may have decided that you don't want to be where you are right now forever. You may want to be doing something completely different in a different organization or sector. You might want to train to do something else. and be what's called like a career shifter, a career changer. But how can you make sure that you feel like this is a worthwhile period of your time if you're just staying put? So a couple of things that I would recommend you do if this is you is to think about what else could you do in your job right now to help you develop more skills. So it may be that your employer is offering different training. Sometimes it might not be a course. And I think a lot of times when we think about learning and development, we think about what courses can we go on. And if your business is feeling a little bit stretched because people are finding it difficult to hire or people are leaving, they may not be prepared to let everybody go off on lots of courses. But there might be other routes for you to keep learning and developing. There might be online things that you can do, either on access that your company's giving you access to. So you could explore some of those. But there's also more experiential learning or more on the job learning that you could do. If you are thinking about going into a particular path, or you want to develop more of your management skills, perhaps you want promotion, you want to go up in the world, but you haven't quite got that experience, use this as an opportunity to see, are there other things that you could be doing within your workplace? And that could be technical skills, could be volunteering for different pieces of work, asking your manager, what can I do? What could I take off of you to help your workload? And really trying to just think a little bit more broadly. Can you be picking up other skills that in a year's time or 2 years' time, depending on how long this potential recession lasts, that if you were to start building up your CV of additional extra things that you could start to add to them. So development is one, and just kind of building that up and keeping a note of everything that you've done. The other thing that I think is really key is actually that sort of level of acceptance. So even though you might have been looking for more work, but you're actually now changing your mind and thinking, actually, do you know what, I'm going to stick it out because I don't want to give away my length of service. I actually would prefer to feel a bit more protected. There's a level of acceptance that we can have around that. And our mindset is so important in this area. If we can accept, you know, I have made an active decision to be in this place right now. It is secure. That is why I'm staying. It is paying me money. I have benefits. I have holiday, whatever the benefits are that this particular role is giving you. There's a level of acceptance in saying, this is where I'm going to be. And I think that sometimes can cause us to be a little bit more relaxed about it, rather than being disappointed, upset, angry, all of those emotions that come when we feel dissatisfied with the place of work that we're at. The other thing that I think, you know, bear in mind, a lot of companies are struggling with retention right now. And if you are thinking of leaving, but actually you've made a decision to stay, you can potentially think about using this to your advantage. If you are thinking about what the company would lose by if you left, if you're looking for things like flexible working or maybe a change in work pattern, there is a potential to ask your current employer if there is that flexibility for you. Now, I'm not saying go and threaten them with leaving or anything like that and sort of trying to hold a bit of a card. I was at a talk earlier today with the Chamber of Commerce, and, you know, people were saying that some people were kind of doing job hunting, getting a job offer and then using that as a bit of leverage for, you know, just increasing their salary in their existing job. I'm not a great advocate of doing that kind of thing. If you want to leave, then make that effort. But you're just using it as a bargaining chip can be a bit dangerous, because people might just say, "Well, no, we don't mind," and you might have actually tweaked the noses and kind of lost some of that trust and understanding between you and your boss. However, if there are things that you think that you could ask for, if you say, you know, I really would like to stay here, but I would like a bit more flexibility, or I'm looking for promotion, I'm looking for development, see if there are discussions that you could have that would enable people to maybe support you. And if you're a good employee and they want to keep you and they want to retain you, then they may well be more open now for for some conversations about you and what they could do to develop you than perhaps they were before. So that's if you're thinking about staying. The go question is a tricky one. And, you know, sometimes should I stay or go? It's not our choice. You know, there are likely to be redundancies. We've just seen, you know, companies like Meta, Twitter, you know, mass exodus of people. So it's not necessarily within our gift to make a decision about whether we stay or go. If you are deciding that you would still like to leave and you're voluntarily looking to go in this current market, you might not even be affected by the 2 years service. So you might be thinking, well, I haven't earned 2 years service and I'm not happy in this place, or I've seen a great opportunity. Then, you know, that bit of job security question may not apply to you. So what I would advocate, and you know, when I talk in my book about you know, getting the job you really want, it's actually about making sure you've got as good a match as you can possibly make it. So if you're going to go voluntarily to a new company, really doing your homework and making sure it is actually the job you want. The last thing you want to do is leave a good job and go to something that within 3 months or 6 months you're sitting there thinking, I absolutely hate this and I don't like it. So when you're doing that research, making sure that you've looked at the culture. So a lot of people just start with job title, location, salary, and in fact salary is probably becoming top of the list right now, and thinking, well, I'll just go for an extra £10,000 or more. But what about the culture? What about the things like flexible working? What about their approach to equality, diversity, inclusion? What are the politics around it? What style of work do they have? Are they being a bit, you know, Elon Musk and saying everybody must work in the office 70 hours a week? Or are they a little bit more flexible and a little bit more into well-being, the environment, or whatever cause it is that actually you are interested in? So really making sure you do your homework, looking at the culture, and looking at the moment right now, I would say looking at the longevity of the company. Do you think that this company has a future? Can it cope with the changing economic conditions? Can it cope with the future of what's coming? Is it doing well? And do you see it being able to trade into the future? Because unfortunately, a lot of companies won't make it through. And so, you know, it would be good to do your homework about the company's security. The other thing I ask people, either on my coaching clients or in the book, is, you know, question about why you're leaving. Why are you leaving the existing company that you're in at the moment? Because sometimes that can tell you about what it is you're going to be looking for. So if you're leaving because of culture, then obviously making sure you've got the right culture. If you're leaving because, you know, perhaps you're thinking about having a family, the company that you're in doesn't really have any family-friendly policies, for example, then looking for family-friendly policies in the new place will be very important to you. So really making sure you know why you're leaving. Now, for me, you know, various different points in my career, I've made different changes. So, for example, when my son was very young, he had a meningitis scare, and my job was about 90 minutes drive away, and I got this phone call, and it was, you know, I was just told, your husband's taking your son to hospital, and you need to get there quickly. Well, it was 90 minutes away. And it was just the longest drive of my life. And at that moment, I mean, he was fine, by the way, it wasn't meningitis. But at that moment, I just decided I couldn't be 90 minutes away. So for me, at that point in time, I took a big salary cut. I took a grade cut. And the location was the key thing that was important to me. And really other things didn't necessarily come into my equation. So the reason why can be really important in terms of what you're looking to go towards. Now, if you've been made redundant, unfortunately, this is going to happen, or you're currently out of work, then, this can be quite a difficult time, because you might be seeing that there is, difficult situations coming up, and we think there's a difficult economy. So making sure, again, that you're looking for the right job. But when you've been made redundant, it can feel really, it's a big shock. I've been made redundant twice. One I knew about because I was part of the restructure, and one was a huge shock. And actually, I was pregnant with my second, and it was a huge shock. And I took it quite personally, even though it was the role. But you start to sort of question yourself. I think that with redundancy, it can really hit people's confidence. So what I would suggest, if you have been made redundant, is to really try and just take a little bit of time to take stock of where you're at, and allow yourself to feel that shock and that level of upset, whether it's a day or a week or a little bit longer, to really kind of think, actually, these things happen for a reason. I have got a chance to restock and take stock and relook at where I might want to be and where I might want to be going. And one of the things I found when I was made redundant was, actually, I was really interested to sort of take a real step back and think about what it was that I really wanted to be doing. It's how I've ended up here, actually, because although I was in big corporate, and I was doing lots of things around customer services and commercial and budgets and things like that, actually everything that I liked doing was about people, career development, mentoring, coaching. And so when I was made redundant, I decided to go and get my coaching diploma. And I decided that I could go and get another job that was similar, but actually I wanted to do something completely different. So I wonder whether redundancy for you might mean that there is a chance to take stock, think about what all of your skills are, what your background is, and what your passions are, and really thinking about where you want to be heading. Is it a chance to think about something that you've always loved, and you can do something different? So have a chance to think about all of those different things, all those different aspects. Once you've kind of got over the shock, and once you've got over that sort of feeling that, right, I've got to now restart where I'm at, then think about what else you can now be doing. So one of the things I think is really underestimated is networking. And I think that, whether you're currently looking for work or not, then there's actually a lot to be said for networking and keeping your network alive. So if you know what you want, and whether that's exactly the same as what you were doing, or whether it is something completely new, then you can be thinking a little bit more about keeping your network alive. Who could you meet and have a coffee with? And who could you be thinking about just having a conversation about different companies, different businesses that are in your location, other people that you just you're not selling to them, you're not asking for a job, you're just thinking, can I hook up, have a coffee? You might have some target companies in mind, and it might be that you think, well, actually I'd quite like to go for that company. And you could start to think about, is there anybody I know who is in that company? Again, I wouldn't recommend you tap people up and start to say, oh, give us a job. However, if you can say to someone, look, I've just been made redundant, I'd really like a coffee. I just want to understand a little bit more about your business or the local market. Then actually you might not get anything from them. They might just be able to tell you a little bit more about the business, and you've learned something. A suggestion I'd make when you do go and do your networking is always to meet someone and ask them, is there anyone else you think I should meet? most people like to help other people. And so they might say, yeah, actually, so and so in the marketing department, because you've said you like to go into marketing or creative. Or they might say, actually, my friend who's in a different business is looking for someone with those skills. And you don't know who knows who. So it can really lead to a little bit of a spiral. One of the things I found when I was doing networking was there's nothing like having a conversation with someone who's saying, so what is it you're interested in, to really start to hone in on what it is you actually are looking for. So if someone says, oh, so you'd like to be doing this sort of job, you might say, oh, not really, it's not quite like that, I'd like to be doing this. So would you be interested in doing lots of travel? Yes, I'd love some travel. No, I wouldn't. So it can start to clarify some of the things that you do or don't want, because you're just having a conversation. And sometimes I find that when we talk and think, we can actually get a little bit more clarity. And if someone's asking you questions, or have you got experience in this? Have you done this before? Then again, you just get that little bit of clarity. So once you've got over the shock and the disappointment, and there's going to be a lot of worries around, think about what it is you want, think about your target companies, and start to network and start to make connections and get yourself out there, which might feel a little bit tricky at the start. So if we start to think about other activities, now this is important for me. This is important regardless of whether you're staying where you are, or whether you are on the hunt for something, or whether you've been made redundant. And for me, it's never too late to start doing some other things. When people go for interview, and I think this applies to anyone who's either, whether you're starting out in your career, or whether you're, way into your career and in your 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever age you are, having other things other than just work on your CV, or that you can talk about, that show the level of skill that you have in certain areas, is important, I think. So, for example, you could be doing other things around your life. You may already be doing some that you may not have even put any great value on. So, for example, you may already be volunteering or working with some sort of charity. You may be a school governor. You may be doing things like PTA. You may have been doing charity walks, or all sorts of different areas of volunteering. Now, making sure that you've at least acknowledged and captured those skills and those reasons why you're doing it, just mentally as much as anything. Whether you decide to put that all on your CV is another thing. But sometimes what you do for voluntary work can give us a little bit of an insight into your passions. And if you can talk about your passions in an interview, you might just come across as somebody who's got a little bit more personality. I think that if you do any volunteering in work, that is also worth bringing up. I spoke to a coaching client recently who had done a lot of volunteering work in their organisation. They'd done things like Mental Health Awareness Week. They'd done some fundraising. They'd done all sorts of other aspects. None of that was in their CV. And yet it was a real sort of passionate side to their own personality. And it showed a level of commitment within the workplace, that not only are they doing their main core job, but they were also doing other things alongside. So think about volunteering. Now, if you are in the, I'm going to stay where I am, I'm not particularly happy, but I want security right now, volunteering for things within your organisation, maybe a little project, or it could be a fundraising thing, or it could be something like Mental Health Awareness Week, or even just organising the Christmas party, or any range of things. Workplaces are full of opportunities to do extra things. If you are thinking that I'm just going to stay and stick it out, volunteering to do something that is your passion project can actually just make your day feel a little bit more interesting and a little bit more true to you. Especially if you think about campaigns like equality, diversity, Black Lives Matter, mental health, environment, any of those sorts of things. If they're your passion and you can be doing something in your workplace, it's great for the CV, but it's great for your own self-esteem, and it might keep you interested in that job if you know you're going to stick it out for the next couple of years and just ride things out. So we talked a little bit about learning before. So, doing other things. Now, learning in work is one thing, but you could also be deciding that if I'm going to just be riding out my current work situation, I've got an opportunity to learn in other areas. You could choose to learn a language, or you could choose to go and learn to paint. I just did rock climbing for my 50th birthday, which I enjoyed to a certain extent, but I'm not sure how much I'll be doing that in the future. However, I did something new, and I enjoyed it. And then there could be other activities that you particularly are passionate about or like, but you just think about spending a bit more time on those. Anything that is going to just give you something else other than work. If it's something you can add to your CV later, then great. So we are coming to the end. I don't think there's any questions to answer just yet, so I'll carry on. So thinking about taking action then, think about what you can do to prepare. One of the things that I think people do is only do their CV when they need to get a job. They only do their CV after they've been made redundant or they're actively looking. My recommendation is that your CV should just always be up to date, because I think that if you've been made redundant, you're going to be in that state of shock that I talked about. You are going to be in a hurry, potentially. You might be genuinely in a panic. I have to earn some money and I have to get a job by, 1st of November, 1st of December, 1st of January, because that's when the money runs out. So do it ahead. Get your CV up to date now. Make sure that you add all of the projects and things that you've been doing over time. You can always edit it later when you go for the job. And I'd always recommend tailoring CVs for each particular role. The more senior you are applying, then the more important that becomes. But if you've got your CV already there, it exists and it's prepared, it just takes a little bit of the pressure off, so that if you do get made redundant or you are looking for new work, you are not sitting there for 2 days trying to remember which course you went on and what date was it that I got promoted and when did I go and do that project, right? So you just gather it all and you build and build and build, and you just keep doing it so it's there. There is nothing stopping you networking, whether you are in a role and staying, or looking for work, being made redundant, or again trying to move on. Networking, if you can do it on an ongoing basis, builds your confidence and doesn't then become again such a big shock that you've got to get back out into the world after however long and start having conversations with people. Now, even if you're just networking within your own organisation, so that you've got people that you can go and meet from other departments potentially, or if you just do it through your friends and colleagues, so that oh yeah, you work for so-and-so, let's have a coffee. If you are then looking for work, you've then got some contacts that you can start to say, let's have a coffee and let's start working. Now, finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. And again, it's a bit like the CV. I think people are often only looking at doing their LinkedIn profile or creating their presence on LinkedIn when they are needing it. My recommendation is that you get your LinkedIn profile up to date. It's most likely now that when people apply for a job, you send your CV in, the first thing a recruiter's going to do is look at LinkedIn. Partly they're looking to see if it matches. They might look at LinkedIn to see whether you've got any recommendations. And they might look at LinkedIn. It's a bit more of like a digital CV. It's a chance where you can put articles that you are interested in. You might have posted some pictures, you might have posted an opinion piece. There are opportunities for you to show some of your skills and some of the credentials that you have. So LinkedIn can be a really great place to do in the background. If you think about it, if you've been made redundant and you're thinking about a new role and you've got to now write a CV from scratch, well, first of all, perhaps you're thinking about what you want to do. You're thinking about what your skills are, what sector you want to be in, what companies you might target, what job boards I need to sign up to. I've got to write my CV. A lot of places now, again, the more senior you are asking for lots of other supporting information. You might have to do a presentation or a question pack. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip of water. Got an itchy nose as well. You want to make sure you've got this set of information that's as ready as possible, so that when you do go and apply for a role, you've got your CV, you just need to edit it and tailor it, and then you can take some time on the other pieces that are needed, not then spending 2 days doing your LinkedIn profile, 2 days doing a CV and getting your certificates out of the loft and all of this sort of business. So getting ahead can be done, and you could be doing that now regardless of what is going to happen to you or your role in the future. So I hope that's been helpful. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour. It's a big subject. If you're watching this on replay, then please do leave a comment or a question. If there's something else that you want to ask me, then do so. I'm running another workshop next week. That is on the 1st of December, and it's all about brushing up your CV. So I'll go into a little bit more detail next week about what you can do to improve the CV and make it much more of a skills-based CV, how you can tailor it too. So if that's of interest, do sign up, or I'll be live on Facebook and LinkedIn, or you can sign up on Eventbrite. So if you have any questions, just post them below and I'll try and come back to you. If there's any other subjects that you'd like me to talk about, then let me know. If you are interested and you like what you've heard, then you can listen to my podcast. I think there's now about 15 episodes available. You can find me on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, as well as on my website. And the address is just scrolling down there below. So it's delajudd.co.uk/podcast. And finally, if you are interested in the book, Get the Job You Really Want in a Post-Pandemic World, and here's one I made earlier. There's a couple behind me as well. It's available on Amazon. The Kindle version is actually on discounted price next week. I think from Monday the 28th, for a week, it's going to be reduced to £1.99. So if you're interested in that, you can get that at a slightly discounted rate. If you want the hard copy, they're also available on Amazon. If you want a colour copy, then you can message me and you can buy it direct from me. So I'll be back on the 1st of December and again on the 9th, I believe. So I hope to be helping as many people as possible during this difficult time. And if there are any particular questions that you want, then do just let me know. But for now, have a good evening and speak to you soon.